Hello and welcome to the show. Now, sadly, I have seen it argued a few too many times that you can't have fun driving a slow car around a racetrack. I wish I could say it was only about games as well. No, I've genuinely seen people argue that you can't have fun driving real slow cars around real racetracks, that you have to have some massive fire-breathing monster or some track thoroughbred vehicle, and that is a statement that I very much disagree with. Take this Zonda, for example. This is a very, very fast car, and do not get me wrong, this is, it's a fun vehicle to drive, but it is not the be-all and end-all of cars. It will get round corners very quickly, it sounds very good, and it can often be quite difficult to drive. Will I have fun driving the Zonda? Absolutely. But it is not necessarily just because it is setting very, very quick lap times. I think what people actually mean when they say you need a fast car to have fun is not to do anything to do with the driver, it is to do with the spectator. If you are going to watch a car go for a hot lap, then yes, you want it to be a very fast vehicle. Watching the Zonda tackle a circuit, such as Indianapolis here, for example, is a lot more dramatic. A car like this, when it is being pushed right to its very limits, is very spectacular. It is this big fire-breathing monster with many, many horsepowers, all sorts of fancy materials go into making it, and it'll lap a circuit incredibly, incredibly quickly, and yeah, it'll look spectacular when doing it. When it comes to a somewhat slower car, it isn't as spectacular from a viewpoint, from a spectator's point of view. Yeah, I think that is perhaps what they actually mean when people say that, because, yeah, the Zonda, great fun to drive, but the Abarth 695 can in many ways be just as entertaining, but you see the contrast between, well, when you're watching the replay cameras, yes, the Abarth is also being driven, absolutely as fast as I can get it around this circuit, but doesn't look as spectacular as the Zonda. That doesn't mean I'm not having as much fun when it comes to driving it. You have fun perhaps in slightly different ways with these cars, and of course it would be pointless me comparing the lap times, but you can have an awful lot of fun driving the 695 Abarth. However, this little Fiat is not exactly what you would call cheap. Forza, it costs 48,000 credits, which, if anything, is Forza being relatively kind to the cars. These things are not cheap. They are practically road-legal, road-going versions of a one-make race series car, I believe. So yeah, it's not exactly cheap, and this is for a car that has 185 horsepower. Admittedly, it is on the relatively light side, but still, you don't get massively impressive numbers with the car, but none of that really matters, because when you take it to a circuit, you throw the car around some corners, it is really, really rather brilliant fun. But as I said, it is on the little bit more expensive side. So what could we do for even less money? Well, the cheapest car that you can buy in Forza 7, as cheap as the money goes, is 20,000 credits. And one of those options would be the Honda Prelude. A car that I quite like. In fact, I very, very nearly had a Honda Prelude instead of an MX-5. At the time that I saw one of these for sale, I didn't quite have enough money, and by the time that I did, the car was gone, and instead I went looking for other cars, hence how I ended up with an MX-5. But yeah, I do quite like the Prelude, especially this generation of Prelude. I like the look of the car. It's something a little bit different. Yeah, overall, I think it is a nice looking car. And for your 20,000 credits, we're ignoring the auto bought Forza homologated parts. We're just looking at the standard car here, but for that 20,000 credits, you get 200 horsepower. You get a car that weighs 3,000 pounds. Okay, the power to weight ratio in this isn't going to beat the little Abarth, but that's kind of to be expected. It still means the car is good enough 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, which is a relatively respectable time for a front-wheel drive sports car. It does take 18 seconds to get to 100. It'll top out at 143 miles an hour. And, well, true to the Honda engine, if you are low down in the rev range, you are going to be in a world of trouble. You put it in the wrong gear, you change up too soon, or don't change down when you should have done, you will be struggling with very little in the way of power. When it comes to the corners, it's a lovely, easy car to drive. You can throw the car about through the corners. You know, it's something like the Zonda, you make a tiny little mistake and you're going to have a horrendous accident. In a car like this, you make a tiny little mistake and you might run a bit wide around a corner. You might miss the apex of a turn, but you'll probably be okay. It's, yeah, a very forgiving car. While on replays, even when driving it to an extent, it feels very soft. Wallowy would be unfair to it because it actually has a good amount of grip through the corners. It just looks like it might wobble over at any point through these turns. When it comes to the hot lap around Yas Marina, the Prelude is going to struggle slightly. It is by far and away the lowest class car that we have taken in this series. This is a relatively low D-class car, and the Volvo that is the slowest other car to have got around here was, I think, a relatively high C-class. So I wasn't exactly expecting the Prelude to be setting any massive records. Although, to be fair, it will set a record for being the fastest front-wheel drive car, because no other front-wheel drive cars have gone around as of yet. It is also, I think, the first car to be flat out through these two right-handers, because it's not really going massively quick at all around this circuit. But again, as I said at the start, it's still good fun to drive this car. It's a vehicle that you want to throw around the corners, and you have the grip to get away with it. You can attack the curbs as well without any real fear. That relatively soft suspension not causing the car issues. It's flat out as we head up towards the final corner for the Honda. Again, it turns, and then, yeah, a fairly slow. It's still, let's face it, a sports car. Fairly slow after you've been watching a Zonda drive around Indianapolis. Trundle towards the line for the Prelude. And, well, that was going to be that. I knew the lap time, as I said, was never likely to be astonishing. And, well, sure enough, the Honda is going to go at the bottom of the table. It is a 1:22.3 from that car. It is 4 seconds down on the Volvo V60. It is 6 seconds down on the Audi S3. We're talking 10 seconds down on the Lotus Evora, the BMW i8, and so on. No real big surprises in all of that then. But here is the thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You see, the great joy with cars like these are, while they are, you know, perfectly good fun to throw around a lap on their own, the best fun is when you get a group of them, because they are not particularly fast, because they are very, very easy to drive quickly, and if, as I said, if you make a small mistake, you don't suddenly go spearing off the track at 130 miles an hour. When you put a field of these cars together, that is when you get an awful lot of entertainment. And this is where I said at the start, while watching one of these cars go around a lap of a circuit on its own is not massively entertaining, it's when you have a big group of them going around a circuit, when they are all completely identical. That is when we get all of the fun. So naturally, that is what we had to try. Brands Hatch Indy being the venue for our first little race with the cars. I think was about one of the only people to have driven this vehicle stock. Had a little bit of advantage over the other competition, and a decent grid spot as well. Was keen to try and find a way past as the cars ahead heading too wide towards the first corner. No way you can really go at this particular stage. I can't fire it up the inside. I've got the speed even to make it 3 wide. Wouldn't want to. Regardless, I am happy to sit, be neat and tidy through turn 1. Let the cars ahead fight 2 wide. Carry as much speed as I dare. Now is the opportunity to make it 3 wide. We're on lap 2 in these cars. It's 3 wide up towards the second corner. There's a little bit of a bump, but again, no real harm done with that. We're still 3 wide on the exit. I've almost got both positions, but I'm then hung out wide for turn number 3. I am still a little bit stuck on the curb. The red car, though, I think I actually have missed a shift as I get off of the corner and will take that second place heading back up towards the final corner. And that's where these cars excel. I then spent a few laps staring at the back of the green car ahead before I could get into a position to try and make a move stick. Heading up towards the final corner here, car ahead runs a little bit wide and can't quite get on the power soon enough. There's a gap. The door is ever so slightly opened for me. Us front three were also able to escape away from the rest of the field. There was a white car behind us and then a big gap as everybody squabbled over that fourth place. I'm up the inside, kind of where I want to be, running into the first corner, but much as I did as when the two leaders were fighting each other, when you take that tight inside line that I was having to do to get an overtake, you can make yourself slow on the exit. The green car does a fantastic job of, doing the cutback on me. I tried to get a good run off of turn 2. If you can position your car right off of the second corner, you will then be on the inside for turn 3, but I couldn't quite make that one stick. I then carry an awful lot of speed through turn 3, give the car ahead a little bit of a nudge, but again, we're not going massively fast, so you can get away with a little bit of bumping. You can get away with a little bit of trading paint, and everything will be fine. The cars aren't going to suddenly spear off the course, and I've got to worry about trying to attack and defend all at the same time in the end. And that is how that particular race would finish. We then headed off to Sebring Club Circuit for, well, more in the way of shenanigans in the Preludes. I found myself having to try and go a long way around various vehicles. I got stuck on the outside a lot in this race, as you will quickly see, although sometimes you can make that one stick. It's a very difficult pass to try and make work when you are all in identical cars, because nobody has any more grip than anybody else. Not quite sure what went on with the orange car, suddenly massively slow. Either way, I'm not going to miss an opportunity like that. I get a bit of a nudge and assistance on my way into the corner, collect the back of second place, and I had been in third. I then dropped to, well, last. 10th place. 3rd to 10th in the space of a corner. Now, that could potentially be quite annoying. Here's the thing. When you're racing cars like these, when you're driving cars as good to drive as the Preludes in events like this, I kind of now relish the chance of having more cars to go and overtake. I didn't mind, bumps happen in racing. I'd rather not have been turned sideways. However, you've now got the opportunity to go and race some more cars, and it's the wheel-to-wheel racing with vehicles like these that is so easy to do. You don't have to spend hours practicing to be able to get the cars to run consistent lap times, because they're just so straightforward to drive, to throw around the corners. This was the first 2 races most people will probably have done with these cars. So yeah, there'll be the odd little mistake, but you get racing like this almost consistently with this type of vehicle. Now, for the leaders, and perhaps if you break away from a group of cars, you will run around on your own for a while, but yeah, I'm still trying to make myself go around the outside of another car. It's almost made it work. We've now been side by side for, well, 2/3 of the lap. Eventually, I managed to get the move completed. The cars ahead were, I'm pretty sure we were 2 by 2 for one of those hairpins at least. We all end up checking up into one another. Again, we've got these, these little bumps will go on, paint is swapped. Once again, having to try make the outside line work on the light blue car. There's still plenty of grip in this, and when you're in groups like this, kind of a little bit of teamwork. I say teamwork, but you can use other cars to block somebody in. You can have to pick what side you're going on, whether it's going to be the right one or not. The light blue car still stuck it out around the outside. I got some taps from the red car. Again, we're going about 60 miles an hour, so it didn't really matter. Can straighten the car up and everything is okay. And I continued. We're going for almost an entire lap here. I've been side by side with somebody. It's changed who I'm side by side with, but still, there we go. So the outside of the hairpin with 3 wide into the first corner. The light blue car makes a fantastic move up the inside to get the pair of us, although I've got the drive off of the corner. The poor green car had a little bit of a dodgy corner, lost 3 places. 3 places in a single corner from having just braked a tad early. I think the blue car missed a shift or did something silly. Either way, suddenly lost a lot of straight line speed. That would promote me back up into the 5th place. A lot of fun, and then get another knock. The car gets put a little bit sideways. We're fine. We'll carry on. No real problem done with any of that. I think then the light blue car got screwed over into a corner and lost a couple of positions of his own. I would then promptly go chase after the cars ahead, thoroughly enjoying driving this Prelude. The dark green car gets a little bit eager on the brakes. He can't slow it up in time, has to take slightly avoiding action. But again, you've done that in a GT car, you've done that in the Zonda. You would either speared the car ahead of you or gone shooting off down the escape road, and that would be that. But you've asked a little bit too much of the Prelude, and well, you've gone a little bit wide. It might cost him a position just because of the way that we are, the positions we are on the circuit, but it's fairly minor, and it's this ability almost to get away with quite a lot more with these cars, and that's when you get racing like this. And so that's the important thing. That's what you want to have. I finally got a pass done by going up the inside of a car. I think that might have been the first pass in this entire race. It took me 5 laps into the race before I got a almost conventional pass done, if you like. A couple of laps later, I would chase down the third place vehicle. I tried going around the outside, not had much luck doing that. He continued to kind of defend, sit in the middle of the road. I was going to go for the big lunge into turn 1, get the car stopped. The green vehicle has to try and go around the outside. He runs out of grip, can't make that one work. He's off across the grass. But in all of this fighting, I've now got more company. In all of the squabbling for position and that big dive, it cost me lap time because I've taken a wonky line through the corner, and now I've got 3 more vehicles behind me that are keen to try and find ways past. Yeah, the lead 2 have buggered off. In fact, the lead 2 were busy having a race of their own up at the front. I didn't expect there to be anyone kind of close enough to be able to have a lunge up the inside of me under brake, so I didn't really defend, and that's kind of put me in a bit of trouble. While running in clean air, I was able to make good lap time. Now I'm having to defend, and in defending, we're going a little bit slow. I'm taking wonky lines to try and hug the inside, ran wide on the exit. We're back to trying to go 3 wide in the Preludes once more. I'm stuck on the outside again for another corner. I can just about pull my car ahead, but it's never quite enough to get clear. I'm always having to leave the car on the outside, just enough room as it's side by side around the final corner. The red car gets a brilliant drive on the exit there, then also gets some assistance from the green car. There's a little bit of a trade going on, and now I'm in trouble. As I've said before, with single-make races, you end up out wide when you've got a group like this. One little mistake can cost you 2 or 3 places, and it very nearly does cost me. The red car up into third. I'm once more stuck on the outside at the hairpin. The green car getting a better run through there. I can't make that pass work. Got to be mindful of vehicles behind. There's another group of cars kind of catching our little fight. There was a group sort of, what position would it be, sort of 7th place they were fighting. As soon as we started fighting like this, they very, very quickly started to catch up to us as we're now on the final lap here. It's a big dive from the green car. I thought I got it stopped and I'd run a little bit wide on my own as we both end up touring the grass. Dark green car makes his way past. I've got somebody else coming to join it. Car that got lag killed on one of the early laps was back into the fight. As up ahead, we're still going 2 wide. I'm looking for whatever I can do in terms of finding a way past, but it's quite difficult now. There's just a sea of metal ahead of me. I carry mega speed, but there's nowhere to use it. We're now the ones completely boxed in and unable to find a way past. Another car has joined this group behind that. I think there's the other 2 vehicles at the back of the field are all in this train. The red car managed to escape all of this. Dark green cars run very wide, puts a wheel on the grass, just keeps his foot down, back across and onto the track, and now we have the big drag race towards the finish line. At the end, I just ran out of space and time. A little bit unlucky, but I say a little bit unlucky. I just got outmaneuvered at the final corner and couldn't do anything to recover it all. An absolutely outstanding race. Absolutely, I don't know what quite on with the AI is having a crash, and all that bit, but absolutely outstanding race, and that is really the point of these cars. The entire grid for those races would have cost 220,000 credits. For pretty much the same amount of money, you can have this McLaren. Yes, in a hot lap competition, the McLaren is going to annihilate the Honda. But the McLaren, I didn't actually particularly enjoy it. I wasn't overly impressed. It was a little bit understeery, a little bit almost, I say dull, but it wasn't a massively exciting. For a supercar, it wasn't massively exciting, whereas as a sports car, I think the Prelude was better in its category, almost. And for basically the same amount of money, you can have your own little one-make championship, or you can have a car you can drive around a circuit on your own that's not particularly amazing. I know which one I am going to have. I know exactly which one I am going to have. I will take the Hondas every day of the week. Yes, you may well not complete a race with all the body panels in the condition that they started in, and most of your paint may well be spread across the opponent's cars. But it's a huge huge amount of fun with next to no experience in the cars. We had 2 and 3 wide through most of the races. Yeah, there were some bumps, there were some shunts, and a couple of cars went across the gravel, but everybody got back on the track okay, and as I said, going relatively slowly, that it didn't really matter if somebody took a small trip across the gravel. They got back on, carried on, and the racing was absolutely excellent. So, yeah, an awful lot of fun can be had with that 220,000 credits, and that is with a selection of Preludes.